Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to talk about this Fusion here. I mentioned in the other video that you can kind of do this Barchetta or Fusion. Of course, with this wind, I'd probably have to go overpower and red Barchetta. But as you can see, what I would do, especially if you have better ball guide with I would set up my ball guide with my Fusion and try to pick a landing spot. If I was going for this with a Barchetta, what I would do is I would set up with Fusion and do something along the lines of this and kind of just memorize these spins. So you can see right around 5 bars, 3, it is going to collapse down a little bit. And then I try to pick this as my landing spot. So if I land around here, it's just going to shoot towards the hole with the Barchetta. And you got to keep in mind that this would need very little overpower with the Barchetta, as you saw in my other video. So to land on this spot is pretty easy. I'm going to go with a little bit more difficult. I would say this is, now to this front pin, it's usually not that hard, especially with this wind. You can see what I would be doing. All I would try to be doing is basically what I try to do is hit one on the cart path, 2 on the rough, and then you can see the ball guide would have funneled down to this front pin. So if you haven't seen that video, you might want to check out the front pin because this is basically more or less what it would do. Now, the only thing that I would do differently is to counter that wind a little bit is I would crank it up to make sure, because what's going to end up happening, and you're going to see it on this shot, is even though my ball guide shows it's going to land here, it's actually going to land over here because of wind effect. Same thing's going to happen with this one, which makes this Fusion shot pretty difficult. I would much rather do what I showed you at the beginning here, lining this up with the Barchetta. Because the Fusion is going to be a little more out of control. And it's also going to bring in the risk of I could potentially land this on the fringe, which you don't want to do. Or the rough specifically. So you'll want to make sure that you have the right amount of topspin. As you can see, I'm right around 6 bars here. So if you don't have a Fusion 6 or 7, you probably can't do this shot. And like I said, the degree of difficulty for this one with this is probably a little bit higher. The same thing's going to happen. So you're going to see that I just kind of up this spin. And I'm going to try to land this intentionally a little bit left. Because what's going to happen is the wind effect is going to pull it much more close to that fringe. So if I was to go 3/8 here with my Fusion, I was to do something like this, you would see it would say 3.4 rings. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to pull down. I'm probably going to underpull because you can see I'm pulling to way lower ground here. So this is so instead of going 3, 4, I'm going to go about 3. And you also see 3, 4 is also, the nice thing about this, you can also see 3, 4 is also still on the cart path. But then additionally to that, we're going to pull up about a ring. Because as you can see, I've moved my target to lower ground. And this just has to do with elevation shots. So here you'll see I'm going to pull up almost exactly to where you see 1 extra ring. That looks pretty good right there. And let's just try this for the adjustment, see what it looks like. And make sure that you're watching these bounces here. Here you can see, hit the cart path, but look at bounce 2. See how close it is to that fringe? And you can see we're giving it a very good run to potentially go in. But notice, pay attention to my start guide versus my end guide. Because if you actually watch, if you replay that video, you'll see that that second bounce was nowhere near that fringe. But it's that wind effect that called it over there. So that's why I'm doing that over adjustment in the beginning. Because you basically have to predict it on your own. And that's what you'll have to do to really master the par 4 approaches. Is you really have to, or just in general, is you have to conceptually start to understand what wind effect does to your ball. And especially when you're doing drivable par 4s, where every bounce is going to count. So do factor that in mind. As you can see, we gave it a good run for our ace. And it just came in just a little bit hot. If I would have just eased off on that back topspin just a little. But good luck there. I'll see you guys on the next one.